This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. There's no doubt in my mind, the Cleveland Browns need a pick-me-up. The Browns fans need a pick-me-up. This is a team in need of a pick-me-up. A lot of people think the season is over because of how the team has performed throughout the first 4 weeks. And look, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. The team has not played well in its first 4 weeks. And it has not made you feel encouraged by the effort that they've put on the field in the first 4 weeks. I think all of those is fair. It's fair to be disappointed. It's fair to be upset. In some cases, a little bit angry. Like, it's fair to feel how you feel about the Browns. But the season is not over. It's not even close to over. It's only October. And I would like to point everybody to how they felt 5 weeks into last season. A lot of people were ready to call this whole thing over in October last year. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember how people were just done with the season, bye week? Oh my God, this is going to be just like 2019 where we're 2-2 going into a game versus San Francisco, and then we lose to San Francisco, and that's going to dictate the whole path of this season. Well, we're kind of in a similar place again 5 weeks into this season. And I know it might be hard to see here or hard to guess, and everything that we can see makes it feel like this might be a rough rest of the season for the Cleveland Browns, and it might be, right? That possibility is on the table given how this team has played through the first 4 weeks. But I would just like to ask a question. On October 1st of 2023, could you have guessed how the rest of 2023 would have went down? Could you have guessed the Browns would have went 11-5? Could you have guessed the Browns would have done that with a bunch of different quarterbacks? Could you have guessed that Kevin Stefanski would have won his second Coach of the Year on October 1st of 2023? Could you have guessed that? Could you have guessed that Joe Flacco, as a member of the Cleveland Browns, would have won Comeback Player of the Year? My point in bringing that up isn't to claim that this season is going to be just like last season. The reason I bring that up is simple. Those things were impossible to predict a month into the season because a lot of the circumstances that created those things happening just hadn't happened yet. We don't have enough information, much like in October 1st of 2023, we didn't have enough information to guess that any of that would happen. The same is true here. Yes, what we have right now is not very encouraging, but things can change in the NFL just like that. Teams start 1-3 and have better outcomes throughout the rest of the season all the time. It happened last year, it'll happen next year, it'll happen the year after. It's not rare that a team gets off to a slow start and then finishes strong, or a team gets off to a great start and finishes weak. These things happen in the NFL all the time. What happens in September rarely is relevant in December and January. So remember that the next time you want to just say the whole season is over. We are only a quarter through this season, less than a quarter through this season. We won't be a quarter through this season until about halftime next week. So remember that. The season ain't even close to over. And also remember that this week, ladies and gentlemen, Nick Chubb is back at practice. That has been confirmed by Kevin Stefanski. He has said it in his press conference after the game that Nick Chubb will be back at practice. Now, this does not guarantee that Nick Chubb is going to play Sunday, and I would be surprised if he plays Sunday. Like, that would be a huge boost to this team. Obviously, he wouldn't have a full load of carries, but just him being on the field would be a big deal. But he's going to practice, which means he's probably sooner to come back than later. You know that with the Jack and Jed thing, and remember, those are 300-pounders. They're going to be a lot more cautious when it comes to 300-pounders than they are going to be with a 200-pounder like Nick Chubb. But 300-pound guys, they practiced for like 3 weeks. Then they were cleared to play until they got other injuries, unfortunately, Jed Wills both and Jack Conklin. But Nick Chubb will practice this week. Last week, we saw David Njoku practice for the Cleveland Browns. And I don't think people really understand how big of a deal getting both those players back will be. And then you add that on top of what was a very encouraging performance by Deshaun Watson. Now, I'm not going to get carried away with Watson right now. Like, I'm very encouraged with what he did against the Raiders, more so than I've been with his play in a very long time, probably since the Baltimore game last year. Like, when you look at the film there aren't just things that he did that were just good. There are things that he did on a processing and just baseline level that make you encouraged that this could carry over week to week. It wasn't just, okay, Jacksonville played a lot of cover one. He saw the soft spots. He threw the open man in cover one and figured it out versus a really bad team in the Jacksonville Jaguars. What he did against the Raiders, again, not a great defense, was a little bit more complex than that and deserving of a little bit more credit than that. I think he did play really well. And every metric, I think he did play really well. And I think anybody who looks at the tape would agree with you that he played really well. And I think anybody who objectively looks at the tape would agree with you. He played really well in that game. The question is, like, how will he play going forward? Will Washington be the same as the Raiders game? Will Philadelphia be the same as the Raiders game? Will Cincinnati, Baltimore be the same as that? If that's the level of quarterback play the Browns get for the rest of the season, and you get Nick Chubb and David Njoku back, then we have more than enough reason to be excited, because I think eventually the defense is going to figure this shit out. But that is far from guaranteed. Right now with Watson, what we have is one very encouraging game, one game that was pretty encouraging, and then 2 games that were very discouraging right now. It's just a very mixed bag sample in the first 4 weeks with Deshaun Watson that I don't really know what to do with when it comes to projecting him going forward. We'll see what happens going forward, proving that I'm going to keep an open mind to any result as long as I think it's going to help the team win. But as far as Watson goes here, he's kind of an unknown. And when you have an unknown at the quarterback position, it's really, really important to have support there and have an identity on offense outside of that quarterback. And again, David Njoku and Nick Chubb are 2 players who are high enough caliber to give you an identity. Like, part of the reason the Browns offense has been struggling, just look at the amount of starters that are out right now. No David Njoku, no Nick Chubb, no Wyatt Teller, 2 left. No, both your tackles are out, right? You're down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Almost half your starting unit is down. Amari Cooper is playing some of the worst football at the beginning of the season you've ever seen him play for whatever reason. And you end up with the offense that's kind of leaning on Deshaun Watson, whose play has been up and down this season, and Jerry Jeudy. And we did not walk into the season thinking this whole thing was going to hinge on the play strength of Jerry Jeudy. That's no disrespect to Jerry Jeudy. He's been balling. But not what we thought we were going to have to lean on. All of a sudden, when David Njoku comes back, it's probably going to free up Amari Cooper. You're probably going to see better play from him, I would hope, right? It has to be better than what it was the last, 3 out of 4 weeks. He had a good game against the New York Giants, but 3 out of 4 weeks, it's been questionable for Amari Cooper. But you get David Njoku back, That's going to free up some space. You get Nick Chubb back. That's going to give you an identity as a run-first team. And I know a lot of people are asking this question. Well, Quincy, what is Nick Chubb going to do behind this offensive line? This offensive line is bad. They can't run block. Well, that's what Nick Chubb is there for. You don't have Nick Chubb there just because you think that he can be a generic running back and run through wide open lanes. You have Nick Chubb there because Nick Chubb can create opportunities in the run game and is not fully reliant on the run blocking to be able to push him to an above average performance, right? Like Jerome Ford is going to be more reliant on the blocking in front of him because Jerome Ford ain't like that. Deontay Foreman is going to be more reliant on the run blocking because Deontay Foreman is not like that. But I would like to remind y'all, this man right here, yeah, that man like that, right? He's like that. So, yeah, the run blocking isn't great, but Nick Chubb can make bad run blocking look amazing. That's what Nick Chubb brings to the table. Nick Chubb is a superstar level player. And for a superstar level player, everything don't got to go right. Everything don't got to be perfect. You don't need the perfect blocking in front of you because a superstar level player who is, again, I hope I don't get copyrighted. Yeah, dude like that, everything don't got to be perfect. And the Browns offense doesn't have a superstar right now. Things got to be a bit more perfect than they have to be for Amari Cooper. Same thing with Jerry Jeudy, right? Jerry Jeudy things have to break the right way for Jerry Jeudy, even though he's making the best out of his opportunities. Deshaun Watson, things have to go right for Deshaun, right? You got to get him protected. Last week, he had 62% of his dropbacks clean. It looked a lot different for him. Right? He has to get protected. He's not the caliber of quarterback, even when he's playing at his best, where he can just make stuff happen on his own anymore. But Nick Chubb is a superstar, right? Nick Chubb is like that. Again, let's show the man. Let's show the man. I'm so excited to see him back in practice. And when you have a guy that's like that, things don't got to be perfect. And honestly, a dude like that can fix a lot of problems on your offense. And that's what the Browns need. They need somebody who is capable of fixing things because the offense needs to be fixed a little bit. You add David Njoku on that, who is capable of playing at a superstar level, as we saw last year. We'll see if he repeats that, right? You can't just call somebody a superstar because they had a strong second half to a season. No matter how strong it is, you got to see him replicate that success in order for him to be a superstar. But again, somebody who adds a plus caliber level talent. Like if Nick Chubb came back this week and David Njoku came back this week, are you going to tell me those aren't the two best players on the offense right now? I would say they're both, like, if Nick Chubb and David Njoku came back, that's 1 and 2. Your best players on the offense, 1 and 2 right there. I mean, that's a huge boost to this team. If you can get Watson playing well, like you got last week, then you got something offensively. The problems that the Browns have defensively, I'm going to drop a film breakdown on it, but it's frustrating because it's fixable, is the problems on the Browns defense. Frustrating, but fixable. And the reason it's frustrating is because the Browns' issues on defense are easily fixable. And I do think that they'll fix it by at least the bye week. I think they'll fix it sooner than later. Maybe this week would be a great week to show us that you change a lot because going into this game with the Commanders is not a team that I project them to do well against, given what they've struggled against with, because the Commanders do everything the Browns have struggled against. So if you have a strong performance against Commanders, that changes things. The season is at a focal point, but getting Nick Chubb back at practice, we'll see if he plays, but I doubt it, right? But getting him back at practice and knowing that he's around the corner to coming back, hopefully getting David Njoku back, who would be a huge boost. Those are the things that I think could help turn this season around and flip the page from a bad start. So, yeah. It's been a rough start to the season. Yeah, if this team plays like they have the first 4 weeks for the rest of the year, they're not going to win that many games. But the truth is, how you look in September is not guaranteed to be how you look in October, November, December, January. You're going to look very different in September than you do at the rest of the season, whether you play great in September or whether you play bad in September. So season's not even close to over. We're only in the first month of it, and the Browns have some good pieces coming back on offense and some huge pieces coming back on offense that I think can change some things for them. But that's my thoughts, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.